Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox, and I'd like to welcome you to the Daily Compliance News. The Daily Compliance News is an offering of the Compliance Podcast Network. October 30, 2019, the Hoskins goes to trial issue. First up, from the New York Times, the CEO of Boeing, Dennis Muilenburg, testified before Congress yesterday. And the testimony was obviously not good for Boeing. He apologized profusely to the families of those who died, and that he acknowledged that he knew about the warnings from the Boeing staff after the first crash and before the second crash. So very bad news for Boeing in terms of its admissions it had to make, although probably something they needed to do to start the healing process going forward. He, of course, hopes that the new 737 MAX will be approved as quickly as possible to try to get Boeing back on its feet financially, but it's still an open question when regulators will approve it, and the FAA is only one of many regulators that has to approve it now, so it's going to be a long road for Boeing. In our signature story today, the Hoskins case, Lawrence Hoskins, a former senior vice president for Alstom, has finally gone to trial. Some 15 years after the alleged bribery by Alstom in Indonesia, and I think almost 8 years after the investigation started, and 6 or 7 years after he was charged. Hoskins has the anomaly of being a non-U.S. citizen who worked for a non-U.S. company, never having set foot in the U.S., and being charged with FCPA violations for part of a bribery scheme. He has admitted that bribery occurred, but claims that the FCPA does not apply to him, as his lawyer opened their case with "Why are we here?" So, working for a foreign company, U.S. Foreign subsidiary of a U.S. company, or a U.S. subsidiary of a foreign company, they're going to have to show he was an agent of the U.S. company. So it's going to be interesting to see this case play out. It may or may not fall on a technical detail, but the underlying facts are pretty damning. Next up, from the Washington Post, the Sonoma Fire continues to grow in California, and it appears that PG&E may have indeed started this fire as well, or at least power lines from its company. This is in the middle, of course, it's shutting down power to parts of the state. And PG&E really doesn't seem to not only know its left hand from its right hand, but it cannot find either hand at this point. Whether PG&E will come out of this in any way, shape, or form, their compensation to those that are owed it for the prior fires put it into bankruptcy, and now they are just in much, much worse shape going forward. And finally, from the Sunday Post in Scotland, the news that the John Wood Group is under additional investigation for its use of the agent Unaoil by two of its subsidiaries, or two business units that it bought in a merger. Continues to bedevil the company. It is now under investigation by 4 separate groups: the Crown Prosecution Service, the Serious Fraud Office, the Department of Justice, and the Securities and Exchange Commission. So obviously a lot going on there. The Unaoil case could be one of the biggest scandals, the most recent biggest scandals, I should say, under the FCPA world. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of this. John Wood Group is cooperating, so Unaoil is claiming that it has done nothing wrong over the years. Is going to be sorely tested in this process. It's going to be very interesting to see how all of this will shake out, particularly with the Serious Fraud Office having taken the lead, and now the Crown Prosecution Service in Scotland taking a very interesting look. Have a safe Halloween out there tomorrow. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.